Hello and welcome. I'm so excited to be here with Dawn and Tom Dixon here today, and had a chance to. I think Dawn's in an airport, but had a chance to catch up here on a quick recording. So, welcome.
Welcome. It's good to be here. I would do anything for you, Brian, even at an airport.
Thanks, Dawn.
And I'm
Tom.
not a good flyer. This is a sacrifice for you
Yes.
in life.
Tom, welcome to the broadcast.
Thanks, Brian. I'm glad to be here.
Great, great. So, Dawn, tell us how you're connected with Coalition Life. What brought you onto the webcast today? I know you guys are good supporters of ours, and even in the airport today. What brings you on the webcast? How are you connected with us?
Well, when I heard you were going to be promoting what you all do, which is to save the lives of babies, unborn babies, I just stopped what I was doing and said, okay, I'll be a part of this. Said a little prayer because I'm not a good flyer. I'm very jittery getting on a plane, but this is near and dear to my heart. I met you many years ago, and I was already pretty full-fledged pro-life. But when I met you, I said, this guy is the real deal. This guy is doing what it takes to pound the pavement, to get out there, to make these women who go through those gates at Planned Parenthood feel special, to rethink their decision. And many times I witnessed them change their mind because of what Brian said, his team, his attitude, and most important, prayer. That really is the biggest motivator to get this eradicated, for us to save more lives and shut down more Planned Parenthoods. So I'm a big fan of Brian's, and so is my husband, and
Thank
we
you, Dawn.
support everything. I mean, the movement into Chicago, the movement into Illinois, where they have billboards that say, welcome, here you can get an abortion, as if it was, telling you where the next gas station was. It breaks your heart. But Brian, you don't give up, and your team doesn't give up. And they send emails constantly, and they're filled with prayer, they're filled with love, and they're filled with encouragement. And I know you are the backbone of all of that.
Well, thank you, Dawn. Thank you for that endorsement. I wanted to talk to Tom for just a second here, if it's okay with you, Dawn. So, Tom, I know that you're a big proponent of these Missouri tax credits. So for those who don't apply for the Missouri tax credits in Illinois, just bear with us for a moment. But for those that it does apply to, tell us what these Missouri tax credits are and why are they worth paying attention to?
Okay, Brian, I'd be glad to do that. And the first thing I'd like to say is that we have to remember what the mission is, and the mission is pro-life. It's not about money. But having said that, it takes money for you, your staff, and your team to do the Lord's work in trying to preserve life and give these innocent little babies a chance to live in the world that God created for them. Fortunately, here in Missouri, we have a state legislature that sees the value in life and create a mechanism for those who are pro-life, want to support pregnancy resources like Coalition by offering a state tax credit. And it's a huge benefit to any Missouri taxpayer that pays state income tax. And it's different than a tax deduction. And I think where people get a little confused. A tax deduction is something that reduces your taxable income, as opposed to a tax credit, which is a dollar for dollar reduction in your state tax liability for the amount of the tax credit that you receive. And here in Missouri, the state will give a 70% tax credit against the state income taxes that you pay through the year. So it's really just a heck of a deal for people who want to support the pro-life movement. to kind of put it in simple terms, a 70% tax credit means that for every dollar of tax that you pay in the state of Missouri, they'll give you 70 cents back. That's huge. To take it a step further, mathematically, for every $1,000 in state income tax that you pay or have paid, you get $700 back. So, if you're the smart people will get their calculator out, and before the end of the year, they will try to look at how much state income tax they're going to pay, and they could calculate a contribution to Coalition for Life that would result in a 100% refund of any state tax that they've collected or paid through the year. So
Right.
It's really a great tool for us as taxpayers, and also for Coalition to raise the funds they need to staff and wage this war that we've got going on against these pro-abortion people. So, and another benefit is you still get the tax deduction on your federal tax return. So you get the federal tax deduction, and you get the state tax credit. So, and you all make it so easy. You provide the paperwork, and you send it out to us to fill out. We have a return envelope that's stamped. I think maybe it's not stamped, but anybody can go buy a 55-cent stamp and send it back in.
Right.
And then within a month or two, the state sends you the tax credit form. It spells out how much you've given, how much you get back, and you give that to your tax preparer, and they enter it onto your tax return, and it's simple, and so it's a great deal for the taxpayer, and it's a great tool for you to raise the funds that you need to do what you're doing.
So thank you very much, Tom, for being on the webcast. Hey, Dawn, I have one more question for you before we get off today. As you look forward to the upcoming Dobbs case, what could you say to those watching tonight about what should happen, or what our response could be if, in fact, Roe versus Wade is overturned?
I think we've heard from a lot of people, even Ruth Bader Ginsburg, that Roe versus Wade really should never have happened the way it did. So if it changes, people have to understand it goes back to the state. Am I right?
Correct.
Yes. And then the states will handle each case, or it should never have been what it is, which is a federal law. And someone as liberal as Ruth Bader Ginsburg said, it's wrong. It's not right. It needs to be redone. So if nothing else, we need to go back to the drawing board with it. And if in the meantime, we can change minds and hearts, and we can get people to understand. It's hard, though, because most of those people who are entrenched in this world of death, they're not willing to they're afraid. I mean, it doesn't mean abortions are going to stop at that moment. That they don't understand. They get hysterical. There's a process still involved, and legally, it really should change. If you just look at it legally, and maybe that's the only way we can talk to one another, is if we're looking at it in legal terms. It'll be interesting, because I think in their hearts, people want to do what's right, and they know what's right. And sometimes it's just easier to do the thing that's going to just make everything go away, and we can get on with our lives and everything. But I think this is making people pause and think and rethink Roe versus Wade. And I hope that it can be overturned. And overturned meaning that it would change. It's not, as I understand it, it's not going away. Right. And that could save hundreds of thousands of babies in the meantime, and maybe change some hearts and minds of some young women. I pray. And like Tom said, the number one thing we have to pray because we know who's on our side. We know the Lord is on our side. So I know when things like this happen, when things get overturned, when abortion clinics close, it's well done, good and faithful servant. I can almost hear it. And I know he's saying it to you, Brian.
Well, thank you, Dawn. I appreciate it. It takes a lot of people to make it happen.
Right.
Obviously, I've got my role, and my family and our staff has our role, but it takes everyone together making this a reality. So wanted to thank you, Dawn and Tom, for being on the webcast today. Sadly, we're out of time, but thank you for your continued support.
Oh, absolutely. Always. God bless.
Thanks, Brian. You can always count on us.
Absolutely.